Hi, I'm Tom Shu, and today we're going to do a tutorial where we try to imitate somebody's work. When I say imitate it, it's like I look at this guy's work. His name is Andres Dragon. He does some crazy stuff. Uh, I see what he's doing to these images, and he's pulling out a certain detail and he's doing things to the eyes that is kind of unique. It's really bizarre his work he's doing. People are doing implants and doing some crazy stuff. But this look that he creates, it's kind of consistent throughout all of his work. Okay, you can take a chance and look at his stuff if you like, uh, but we're going to try to imitate some of this stuff. See the way this looks? So here we go. I've got this image here. Looks nothing like his work. So we'll see what happens when we're done. I'm not going to try to do the whole picture. We're just going to do probably a quick, maybe just a head shot of it. Okay, let's try that. Something like that. Ooh. Let's give it a actual size here. 4:3 works good. And maybe compose it uh maybe something like that. Bring this up. I don't like chopping off stuff too much, but heck, this is just a tutorial, so we'll just go there. So we're gonna crop it. Alright. Let's duplicate the layer. Actually, I'm gonna crop it a little bit more. I want to bring this in so I lose that side. Alright. Okay. So, where shall we start? The first thing I think we need to do is darken this down. So we're going to come over here, we're going to grab a levels. Okay, with the levels adjustment, we're going to drag our black layer up. Or something, just kind of go till we see what I think we should do. Like somewhere around there ought to do. Now, we've affected a lot on this image. Let's zoom in some so we can get a look. We've got definitely a lot more contrast than before. So, next thing I want to do is desaturate this image. It looks pretty saturated. So go into the levels, we'll grab saturation. And we'll bring this saturation down considerably. And if I remember correctly, maybe somewhere around there. If I remember correctly, his images looked a little yellow to me. Now if we go to yellow, it won't look yellow. We need to go this direction. See, if we come over to yellow, it gets kind of green. So if you want to go the opposite, we need to go over here to get yellow. I'm not trying to go too far, but I definitely want, so if we zero it out to where we started, I want to go to the yellow side with it. Okay, somewhere like that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab and put a curves adjustment on it because I want to adjust the highlights and the shadows and the midtones. So we'll come over to this adjustment layer and we're going to grab a curves adjustment layer. Okay, with this curves, let's pull this up a little bit so you can see what's going on. I'm going to set 3 points. This one's going to represent the midtones. This is going to represent the shadows. So I'm going to go halfway between here or so. And this one will represent the highlights. So we'll bring our highlights up a little bit. And I'll bring my shadows down a little bit. And then I'll grab my midtones and bring them down too. Okay? That starts to really grunge them up some. The whole idea is we're going to make a high contrast between the highlights and the shadows, and then we'll use a burn tool to knock everything in. And if we need to take something away, everything's in layers, so we can drag the opacity if we need to. So what I'll do is at this point, I'm going to create a new layer. Control Alt Shift D or Command Option Shift E. and we'll get a new layer. So with this layer selected, I'm going to do a high pass. So we'll go to Filter, High Pass, do it to Other, High Pass, and depending on the size of the image determines how much radius you need to put in there. I'm going to bring the radius up so I can see detail across the whole image. Click OK, and then I'm going to set my blend mode to Overlay. We'll bring the opacity down, maybe somewhere around 50–60%. See that hair is really starting to come in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the Dodge tool. If you look over here, you have Dodge and Burn tools. And I'm going to make sure I'm set on midtones. Okay, I only want to affect the midtones. And I'm going to bring the exposure up maybe 50 or 60%. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm just going to work on his eyes. And pull out some of that detail in the mid-range. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab. I'll tell you what we'll do is let me back off and get rid of that adjustment altogether, and I'm going to make a new layer again. Control Alt Shift E or Command Option Shift E. So now we have an area to work from, and now I'll grab my Dodge tool. Set 6%. We're going to work on the midtones only. I'm going to paint it in just on those eyes. Wondering why I couldn't see much detail in those eyes, because I was on that opacity layer. Okay, so there's our eye detail. So now I'm going to grab the Burn tool, and with the Burn tool, I'm going to set it to highlights. Okay, and now I'm going to use it to burn in a lot of the details on this face. Let me zoom in just a hair. Ooh. Actually, I don't want highlights. I want it on midtones. Okay, and let me bring this down a little bit. Highlights would make everything too bright. Make the brush kind of soft. And let's try the shadows and see what's happening here. No wonder we're still on the Dodge tool. Let's back out of there. I want to be on the Burn tool. And we're going to go for midtones. Here we go. Sorry guys, this is not an exact science here. What we're trying to do is copy somebody else's work or their style, just to see if I can do it. Okay, there we go. We're going to start burning in a lot of this detail. Just back off completely. Bring this exposure somewhere around 40. Basically, he just comes in and burns in a lot of these lines and these shadows and stuff. Kind of make them that contrast between the highlights. Make the brush a little bit bigger. Come in here. That's too much on that one. The great thing about this is we can come in with a layer mask. If we have to, and knock some of this out of there if we get too much. Come around his lips a little bit. Let's come in down here and sculpt on his body, some down here, around his neck. And you can see that we're starting to really cut this guy up. And then we'll just back the opacity off. Just coming in these shadows and working with it. And where I see a shadow, I'm going to burn it down. And I'll go back over and get the highlights. Okay. Looks pretty crazy here. Looks like a zombie. So let's go back to the dodge tool. We'll come back in and hit our highlights. So where we see a highlight, we're going to dodge it out. Ooh, I've been moving my stuff around. So we need to fix that. So if you ever find yourself where you misalign your images, all you do is just take and drop the opacity down, and you can start to see where you've got a misregistered image. Okay, we don't drop it down too far. Maybe something like that. Now we can see we got two catch lights here. Let's bring it over and get it close. And we'll use the keyboard to nudge it into place. Okay, it looks like it's in the right spot. Bring our opacity back up to 100%. Zoom out and take a peek. Alright, since all of these layers are the same, I'm just going to go ahead and merge them. Alright, now if we don't like the way this looks, what we can do is we can grab our opacity and slide it down, and just until it kind of gives it the look we're looking for. And if we overdid it in some areas, we can just add a layer mask. Okay, so we can take our brush tool. Say if I think I got too much between the forehead up there, we'll use a brush. We're going to be painting in black. Okay, we'll just come here and paint some of that effect off. Maybe I got too much there. Maybe my brush is too much. Just bring it down here so I can control some of that. I think I got a little bit too dark right there on the nose. Maybe a little bit too much here on the nose. Okay. Okay, that kind of looks like the effect. Let's take a peek what it looks like on the internet here. And he's still not yellow enough, and he's definitely not dark enough. Let's take a peek at some of these other ones. He definitely needs to get darker and needs to get more yellow. Make a new copy. And let's grab our hue saturation. Let's kick the vibrance up some on this guy. Give him some more color. Back that down just a little bit. Now I'm going to grab a hue saturation. So I'm going to grab a colorize. Okay, and the color will be that yellow color, right? Choose this golden yellow. We can choose how dark we want it or how light we want it. We'll go to our layers. I'm going to try soft light. Then I'll drag the opacity off to yellow him up some. Maybe we'll take that vibrance layer and hide it for a minute. Now the whole thing needs to get darker. So we're just going to grab our brightness contrast. We'll darken him down some. Now we're starting to get where we want to go. We'll come over to our hue saturation again. And I'll bring this back up. Yellow him up. So let's take a peek again where we're at on this image set. I'm not saying that what I've done is perfect, but he's definitely got a lot of those same details. My guy's not as weathered as the rest of these guys, but if we put him in black and white and take a peek. So we'll just come in here and we'll just do a black and white layer. And let's crank up the yellows, because I know that let's darken down the yellows some. There we go. We're starting to get that shine. Greens don't affect too much, except sometimes if they got like blonde hair. But we can definitely adjust his eyes, because he's got these blue eyes. There's some of the cyan in the eyes too. Too much in the eyes. Back to our layers. I'm going to drag the opacity off some until we get it kind of the way we want. So there you have it. The dragoon effect, or whatever you want to call that. 20-minute retouch. Let's make one final image here. Control Alt Shift D. That's Command Option Shift E on a Mac. I'll get rid of all this stuff in between so we can look at it before and after. Just delete all that off. And there we have a before and an after. You tell me what you think. Thank you for taking time to visit my blog today. Until next time, we'll see you soon.